Hey everybody, this is Jim at SB500chart.com. It's about 4:15 on Monday afternoon, July 28th. And pardon me, I tell you what, I got to go see a doctor about my voice. I won't bore you with the details, but suffice it to say, my larynx faces an onslaught from my sinuses from above and probably some reflux from below. I used to have a fairly low, rich-sounding voice, and now I'm sounding every bit plus some my age. But let's take a look at the chart after I remind you that the website and the video are for educational purposes only, and nothing stated at the site or in the video is intended to be used as investment advice. I can draw these lines on charts, but you have to draw your own conclusions from your own research and make investment decisions that are suitable for your personal financial situation. I am not a licensed financial pro, just a guy who draws lines on charts, and I think we got some interesting things to look at today. First off, I mentioned in the weekly review that it looked like we'd made a little consolidation pattern. It really shows up nicely here on the 5-minute chart. And the idea is that if this breaks to the downside, then we would start to expect to be picked up either down around these two lines, and I think these are rising trend lines, but we've got another red rising trend line that was also on the chart. It's red now because I think this line might be the more effective at this point, based upon the bounce we got there today. So this little pattern broke down. If we measure the height of the pattern, we made the target from it and then some. You can see that the S&P came back pretty much to this lower line, got temporarily set back down, but you'll notice, where did we bounce? We bounced on this line, which, when we look at our 10-minute chart, is the extended neckline, if you will, from this little pattern right here that we were looking at as an inverted head and shoulders candidate. The other thing that I kind of mentioned is that a lot of times you'll get a bounce sort of in the center of gravity of where this entire last 2.5 weeks or so took place. So in other words, if we were to just snap a horizontal line, where's my horizontal line tool? There it is. Where we bounced today, you can see that we had two bounces, well actually 1, 2, 3 bounces at about that same level about 2 weeks ago, just for what it's worth. More importantly, we got up above this neckline again, and it looks like we're mounting another attack potentially on this resistance line right here. So come on, where's my chart? There we go. So we are right back to about where we were 5 days ago when we were attacking this line originally back on Tuesday of last week. So let's just see if the S&P has the strength to get up over this line again, and if it does, if we can set a new high. It doesn't. What I'm trying to say is it looks still fairly bullish. Additionally, if we go to this point right here and draw ourselves a little trend line that descends, then give ourselves an almost perfectly parallel line, not exactly. You can see that the past 3 days or 2 days and a portion could be interpreted as another little bull flag. Okay, we are now over this line. The question then becomes, are we going to do the same kind of thing that we did? I'd cleaned up the chart a bit, but remember we had a bull flag here. We had one here. We had one here. We had one here, which really was more of an inverted head and shoulders pattern. So you can see that we've traded down for 3 or 4 days, then we were back up. Traded down for 2 or 3 days, back up. Traded down for a week, back up. Went sideways for a bit, up. Traded down again. The question is, do we now head back up? I kind of think that's a pretty good possibility, and let me show you another reason why. I mentioned that this red trend line, by the way, this was a gray line prior to today. It is now red because I think it's more important. And I just want to show you another one of those little, gee, isn't that funny? How did that happen moments in chart reading? If we make a parallel line to this and slide it right here, gee, isn't that funny? That happens to line up perfectly with these last two tops. So it's starting to look as if we may be in a larger channel than anything than we had considered so far. You remember we were in the little narrow channel, then we hit some resistance, then we saw yet another little channel, then we hit some resistance. Now it appears that with this sideways consolidation that has taken place over the last 3 weeks, if we can get above this line once again, I could even make the argument that possibly we tag this red line at some point down the road. Don't think it's going to be real quick, but we know we have targets of 1990 that was met. Since that was met, I'll do us all a favor and clean that up off the chart. We have a target of about 204 based upon this small inverted head and shoulders pattern. Then we have a target of about 214, 215 based upon this entire consolidation range. I'm going to kill these lines again just to keep things a little cleaner. And now we have what appears to be a larger channel that if we were to reach this top line up here, guys, that might be a good spot to frankly to sell, to relax a bit, see what happens if you're so inclined. I may do that myself, but right now, you see we've got a pretty nicely defined channel from here to here that has taken place once we broke out over this 1900, but this also extends all the way back down to our inverted head and shoulders pattern back here. And to remind you, this is the pattern that had the 1990 target. We made that. Interesting to note, this red line is also that the trigger for a buy signal coming out of an inverted head and shoulders pattern. So if we had done that back when we got under 1960, that would have worked. Question is, will it work again? So let's just see how long this channel can remain alive, because I think that's certainly an interesting looking proposition that we could bounce on this line again, get ourselves free again of this sideways pattern, and then make our two targets at 204 and 214, 215, and possibly even get on up to tag that rising resistance line. If you see that kind of strength in the weeks ahead, then again, I think that would probably be a pretty good spot to be sensitive to taking some profits. So guys, there's your video for July 28th, 2014. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch it. Thank you for your support.